All right, well, thanks for listening to this podcast. In this episode, I want to talk about, a phrase that I often say. And this phrase, I know, bothers some people. And some people have been willing to, tell me that and talk to me about it. And it gives me a chance to explain. But I'm going to do that here just in case maybe it's bothered you. When you've heard me say it before, or you've wondered why I say this particular phrase. And the phrase is this. I often will say at the end of a proposition or a sentence or a statement, I could be wrong. So for instance, sometimes I'll even say, I believe Christianity is true, but I could be wrong. Now, there are several reasons why I say that, but if someone doesn't give me a chance to explain what I mean by that or why I say that, they often misinterpret me to think that I don't have as much confidence, let's say, as they think I should, that Christianity is true. So they take it as a qualifying remark. In other words, something like, wow, I believe my friend is a really good basketball player. Well, he's okay. He's pretty good. So, and you know those sort of qualifying statements where somebody says something, but then they kind of qualify themselves because they think maybe they said their statement too strongly, right? Or sometimes insecure folks will qualify themselves. And that's not what I'm doing. That's not the purpose, even though that's how I misinterpret it sometimes. That's not the reason why I say that I could be wrong. I actually picked up the habit, if you want to call it that, picked up the practice of doing so from my hero in the faith, my hero in ministry, which is Francis Schaeffer. And it was something that he would often say, and I think for a lot of folks when they first heard him say it, or even nowadays when they first hear or read Francis Schaeffer saying such things, it kind of shocks them, and they wonder why he would say that. It's not really a habit. What it is, talk about qualifying. It's not a habit. It's a choice I make, and I say it on purpose. And here's why: I want to communicate that my belief in Christianity is something that could be true or false. In other words, I'm trying to help people to understand that Christianity is one of those propositions that is either true or it's false. In other words, it's not like a feeling or maybe your favorite flavor of ice cream. It's not a subjective thing. Because unfortunately, over the last 100 plus years, religion has become people understand religion to be so much more of a subjective thing, where it's like, well, if Christianity works for you, if it helps you in life, if it gives you meaning in your life, helps you through tough times, then it's true for you. If Hinduism helps me in my life, then Hinduism is true for me. And religion, unfortunately, and as you know, Schaeffer was really big in this conversation and fought this idea, but unfortunately in our culture, religion has become more of a personal preference than a propositional belief system. In other words, it's more like your favorite flavor of ice cream. I prefer this, I prefer that. We don't really think these things are objectively true or false. They just are maybe pragmatically helpful or pragmatically useful to different people. This was driven home to me probably most clearly. I had a conversation with a student once at the University of Nebraska. I was out sharing the gospel on campus, talking to people about Jesus. And this non-traditional student, I would guess he was late 20s, early 30s, had served in the military, and now he was going to college. But he came and talked to me, and we had a very, very good conversation. And when I told him I was a Christian and I was encouraging other people to trust in Christ. He said, "Oh, that's great. I'm so glad that you found Christianity and that it's helpful for you." And he went on to explain that he believed in Norse mythology. So I'm talking like Thor, not like the Marvel Thor, but like real Norse mythology. Odin and Thor and all of that Norse mythology. And he went on to explain, how that was so helpful for him, and it gave him guidance in his life and really helped him to find meaning and purpose. And so I kind of keyed in on what was going on, and I said, now do you believe that there's an actual, let's say, Odin and Thor out there somewhere in the universe or somewhere in reality, that if in some way, shape, or form you could meet them somehow, do they actually exist out there in space or in reality, or somewhere here on Earth you could find Odin and Thor? And he said, "Oh, no. I know all those stories are not true in that sense. They're just fictional stories, but they help me understand about life, and they give me meaning and purpose, and they teach me a lot through those fictional stories." And he was understanding my belief in Christianity the same way. He thought that I was a follower of Christianity in the sense that he was a follower of Norse mythology. And I said, well, no, this is where we differ. This is where we disagree. And we probably should have this conversation first, because you're misunderstanding what I'm trying to encourage you to do. Because I believe that Christianity is objectively true. I think that there really is a God out there. And Jesus Christ was a real person, and he actually rose from the dead. And someday I'm expecting to meet him face to face. I think he is real, objectively real. And so when I explained to him that I thought that Christianity wasn't just, fictional stories that helped me and gave me meaning and purpose in life, but that my Christian beliefs were objectively true, then it was a whole different conversation. He was perplexed and bewildered that I thought these things were actually true. And then he recognized that what I was saying about my beliefs were radically different than his beliefs, because his beliefs were just that those fictional stories of his from Norse mythology gave him meaning and purpose, but that I was advocating for beliefs which I thought were objectively true. And then the conversation got it even better, because he started asking me, well, why would you believe that those things are really true? And then I was able to give him, reasons and evidence that my beliefs are based upon. But that's what I'm trying to do when I say that I believe that Christianity is true, but I could be wrong, because I want people to understand that I am advocating for propositions, objectively true propositions. And those sort of propositions can be true or false. When you just follow some of these subjective ideas that give you meaning and purpose in life, they can't be true or false. They're just helpful to you. They're just pragmatically useful. But when we're proclaiming Christianity, we're not proclaiming that. We're not advocating for that. We're claiming that it's objectively true. So it's similar to a statement as follows. It's raining outside. That is an objective truth proposition. That proposition would either be true, it really is raining outside. In other words, my proposition that I spoke, it's raining outside, corresponds to reality, corresponds to what's actually going on outside. If it's actually raining outside, then it's a true proposition. But of course, it could be wrong. I could be wrong when I say it's raining. Maybe I thought I heard that it was raining, but I was mistaken. So my objective proposition could be false. It might not correspond to reality. So it's an objective truth or false proposition. And that's what we're saying about Christianity. So often when I'll say things like, I believe Christianity is true, but I could be wrong, I'm trying to just communicate that what I'm discussing here is an objective proposition, similar to if it's raining outside or not. that proposition could be true, could be false. And Christianity, at least the way that we're trying to discuss it, is something that can be true or false. Whereas most people think of religion not in those terms. They think of them more of either a personal preference, like my favorite ice cream is chocolate, or a pragmatic approach to religion, like this gentleman I met on campus, where he's talking about Norse mythology and how that helps him. That's not objectively true or false, the Norse mythology, it's just useful for him. But we're not saying that about Christianity. So it's kind of a long explanation for just a phrase that I often say, but I wanted to clarify because it does cause some confusion sometimes. I can affirm I am very, very confident that Christianity is true. The more I study and the more that I've dived into looking at the reasons and evidence for Christianity, my faith has only grown because I've just encountered so much more reasons and evidence to believe that it is true. So I am very confident in my faith in Christianity. I would say that I'd be willing to die for my belief in Christianity. So no, I have all sorts of confidence and am convinced that Christianity is true. The reason I say that statement, though, that I could be wrong, is just to help people realize the way that I'm discussing Christianity. I'm discussing it as a objective proposition that could be either true or false, but I'm convinced that it is true.